here today to show you how to get set up using the Rent and Mortgage Relief Program and the Landlord Portal at Virginia Housing. This was one of the things the industry was very supportive of, is getting the system set in place to where management companies, property owners could apply directly on behalf of their residents so that we could keep people in housing and help them get the assistance they needed. So the first spot I want to direct everyone is to the website where we get started with everything. And that is by visiting virginiahousing.com/RMRP. Again, that's virginiahousing.com/RMRP. That will bring you to the page we are at right now. First thing you'll see on there is Attention Landlords. When you see that, you know you're in the right spot. This is the page where everything starts. It'll have the overview information about the program, how the program works. And I want to highlight a couple of details that you will need to be aware of as we get set up along the process. So as we scroll down the page, the first spot you'll want to start is, shocker, the Getting Started section. Under that, I'll call your attention first to the Rmrp program details for landlords. I encourage everyone to open this page and print it so that you have a copy of it. This is the great overview of the program, general eligibility requirements, as well as a chart that takes you through the process of getting started. This is a great reference for you to have so that you can make sure that you have done everything you needed to do to get set up in the program. Also, under the Getting Started section, you will find the Rmrp application and agreements. This is the application that your residents will need and you will need to fill out in order for your residents to get assistance. Operationally, it is our recommendation that if you're in a situation where you have to send someone a 14-day notice for a non-payment of rent, that you go ahead and start the process of completing this application and send it along with that notice to the resident. This will speed up the process and make everything easier for everyone involved. A lot of the information you will need to include on this form is very similar to what you're going to include on a 14-day notice. So fill out what you can of it. You obviously won't be able to fill out everything. The resident will have to fill out certain sections and return it to you. But let's go ahead and get the process started. Fill out your portion of it. Send it with your notice to the resident so we can get the ball rolling. The next section to point out is the Landlord User Guide to create a profile and enter tenant application. This is actually what we're going to be doing today. This is going to take you through all of the steps with screenshots about what you do in each section of the application process, as well as the setup process. So download that. That'll be your guide to use throughout this entire process. Last couple pages to point out, grant management system. This is where we will get started. And I'm going to take you through the grant management system today. You are going to become a grantee in the process to where your organization can receive funds. It's normally set up for nonprofit organizations, but because of the Rmrp program, it's now been expanded out to property owners as well. So you will become a grantee. A couple of other helpful forms, the Ach Authorization. Virginia Housing can't pay you unless they know how to get you money. So the ACH, this is where you're going to provide your bank information, a copy of a canceled check or deposit slip, or a bank letter so that they know where to send the money. And then last two documents, multiple property template. This is where you're going to have to make a decision as a company about how to proceed. There are two methods you can use in operating. Number one, you could have each property set up independently in the system to where each property becomes a grantee, or you could set it up in the alternative to where the corporate office handles the administration of the program. The corporate office becomes the central clearinghouse for everything, in which case funds from VH or funds from Virginia Housing would return to the corporate entity, and the corporate entity would then make the disbursements to the property level. That's a decision every company is going to have to make on your own internal structure. And the last piece of information is the Rmrp guidance for income eligibility and allowable fees. This is going to go through exactly what you're allowed to apply for. Our suggestion is keep it simple in this process. It's rent. Just keep it simple. Let's try to keep people in housing. So pay attention to the guidelines and Again, if we keep things simple, straightforward, it makes the process more efficient along the way, and it gets you paid quicker, gets the resident taken care of, and just makes the process a whole lot easier. And Virginia Housing has to do a little less research and question on things. So if we can avoid questions, we speed up the process. So with that, let's get set up in the program. Grants management system, again, this is where grantees would normally go. We don't have a login yet. We're new to the system. You'll be new to the system. So we're going to go to register here. And now you're going to show up with a web form. I'm going to register as though I'm a property. Organization mission statement, we can leave that blank. Select all programs your organization provides. This is where we're going to select property management. We are in the business property management. Other description.
And Patrick?
Yes.
You'll need to scroll back up and select your service area.
Service, thank you very much. I forgot. Service area, very important. You will need to select the service area, which is every area where you have a property located. This is listed by county and city. And now I get down and want to make sure you have property management selected. Now I'm almost to the end of this process. Now here we diverge a little bit, and something for everyone to keep note of. You need to already have ready your ACH paperwork and your W-9 before you move forward. Keep in mind with that ACH paperwork, you need to have a copy of a blank check, a deposit slip, or a letter from the bank. Jessica, what is that bank letter? I know some properties don't have deposit slips and checks. Could you just explain what that is?
It's just a letter from your banking institution that verifies your routing and bank account numbers to use for ACH.
2 steps to the registration process. We need to send Virginia Housing that information, the W-9, the ACH paperwork, and if we have multiple properties, we need to send a listing of the multiple properties. We can download the spreadsheet for the multiple properties by clicking here on the form. We can also download our ACH form by clicking here. The only thing you need to make sure that you have in hand, if you have not already downloaded it, is make sure that you have your W-9. It's suggested that you take these documents, put them into a PDF. It doesn't have to be one PDF, but it's certainly easier if you can combine them into one PDF. Before you click register, we would encourage you to go ahead and submit these documents using the secure email link. You will notice it says right here, these documents can be submitted at rmrp@virginiahousing.com, then here. By clicking here, it will open up another tab in our browser for us to set up their secure information. We will need to set up a secure email using the registration information here. Very important, the email address you use for the purposes of this should be the same email address you used up here under the personal information. That is how Virginia Housing will match up the information you send with your application.
I would make a note to double check your W-9s. They need to be signed and dated within the last 3 years.
Last thing, you'll say, are you registering to participate in the rent and mortgage relief program for landlords? Obviously, the answer is yes. All right. So we have now done our registration. There is a little waiting period involved here. Virginia Housing is processing a lot of applications right now. Jessica, I've heard 7 to 14 days. Is that about accurate on the waiting period?
That's fairly accurate. As long as you have attached or sent in your W-9, your ACH, and your voided check or bank letter, we can get your profile processed within those 7 to 10 business days.
One note for everyone on your email platforms. We know sometimes emails get held up in spam systems. Make sure that you have whitelisted in your email program both virginiahousing.com as a whitelisted domain, as well as webgrantsmail.com. That's webgrants, webgrantsmail.com. Make sure those two are whitelisted so that when your registration information comes in, it doesn't get held up in your spam. We've had some cases where people have been set up, didn't realize they were set up because it got held in their spam box. So if you go ahead and set that up on the front end, you won't have to worry about that, and you'll know right away. As soon as they get you approved and you get the email, you'll see it. Now we're going to get our confirmation. So first of all, we get our thank you for being set up. Our first email, notice it says do not respond to this email. This is the one, thank you for registering. It's currently under review. If approved, you'll receive a confirmation email with your user ID and password within 5 business days. Again, that may take a little longer right now. A lot of people putting in applications, so please be patient with that. You will actually receive 2 emails, one with user ID, one with your password. So now we are going to go over and get set up and go into the system. Once we have gotten our information, in order to get set up in the system, we are going to come back to the grants management page. So remember that page we started off on, said attention landlords? We can simply scroll down to the page and go back to the grant management system. Now, we've already registered. We don't need to go through that process. We are going to take our user ID that was sent to us in the email and then our password. Important to note, that password is our temporary password. Once we log in, it will ask us to change our password to a new password. Well, we have changed our password. We are now in the system. So now it's time to get started on putting forward an application. Before we do that, I want to take you through just a couple of the pages so that you have an idea of what you're looking at. Instructions are exactly what they say, instructions. Your profile is the information that you uploaded originally to get started into the system. Funding opportunities. For you, property management, the only funding opportunity we're going to talk about is the Rent and Mortgage Relief Program. I'll take you to that page in a minute. This is also the page where we're going to start the process of getting people set up. Now, the next 2 you're going to want to pay attention to. My applications and my grants. My applications are applications you have put forward still in the pending process or in the work in progress section. My grants are applications that you put forward that have been approved. So keep that in mind. Applications are pending, grants are approved. We're going to set up someone new. So we're going to go to funding opportunities. We will have a bunch of stuff come up. Now keep in mind, you're in a system that's used for a variety of grantees. For the purposes of this, there is only one grant we are interested in, and that is the Virginia Rent and Mortgage Relief Program. It is towards the bottom of the screen, 3rd one from the bottom. You will click that. Here is where we get started. Familiarize yourself with this page, and particularly familiarize yourself with Start New Application. Now you will see that I actually practiced one already and put Tommy from our All of Us in the system, but we're going to go ahead and start a new application, take you through a couple of the pages that you would do. So this page, primary contact would be you. If you have multiple people in the system, this may actually have a couple of different options for you, but it should be you. So select your name. Now, project title, very, very important. The project title is the recipient or the resident in this case, their last name, first name. So last name first. So in this case, we're going to do this for Teresa. So last name first, then first name. Then organization. If you are in a corporate scenario applying for multiple properties, you would be able to select multiple options. In this case, we only have one. Key thing, the organization you select is where the funds will be paid out to. So make sure you select the right recipient, or in terms of the right property the funds should go to, and then click Save. This now shows us we have Teresa set up in the system, and we can go to the application forms. Here's where we can see exactly what we've done. You'll notice there's a complete check mark that should show up beside each one once they are done. I'm going to take you through each one of these very briefly. We've already done the general information. We're going to look at the tenant application first. Now, our tenant application. This, you are going to need to have the printed application, the hard copy of the application from the resident back. One word of note, you must have a completed hard copy application. You are going to have to upload that to the system to get things processed. Information you put in on this page will be a copy off of the hard copy. So you will need to have the hard copy to reference as you're entering information here. Property name, unique identifier, please ignore that for now. Jessica, my understanding that's probably going to disappear over time.
We're no longer utilizing that unique identifier, so don't worry about trying to figure out that code.
So simply property name, all of the information asked for on this page will match the information on the printed application. Key thing, you need to enter everything exactly the way it is on the application. So general application information, the overall minimum requirements, again, this will mirror what is on the printed application that you sent the resident as part of the 14-day notice, and hopefully they've returned to you. Again, household information, a direct match to the printed application. Monthly household income, again, direct match, as well as the annual median income for the household. And then the self-certification loss of income. Again, you're matching exactly what the resident has indicated. Now, perhaps the most important section for everyone on the property management side, the rent and funding information. This needs to match in a couple of areas. One, obviously it needs to match what's on the application. However, to get things processed appropriately, your application needs to match your ledger, which needs to match your lease. Make sure all of those match. Any discrepancies between those three will result in delays on funding for the resident, and we don't want those delays. So please check everything ahead of time. Jessica, anything you want to add? Have you all encountered some issues with this, things not matching?
Right, we do. I think it's important to really make sure the information, like you said, on the ledger and the lease is consistent with what's in GMS and on the application. Obviously, at this point in November, we know that December rent is not going to be on your ledger, but we will take the April through November figures provided here and compare that to the ledger and then add December to make sure what's here in GMS is consistent across your other documents.
Demographic information, that is going to be what was indicated on the residence form. And important, we click return to top. We have to click the save button. Do not leave this screen without clicking save. Very, very important. Click save. That will move us back to our main page, and we can see some of the other things. Again, we're looking here to make sure that we've checked every box we need to check. The rental assistance page. This reimbursement. Now keep in mind, we're in a system that's made for different grants. Key thing for you is this dollar figure here needs to match the total requested on the application. So you will take the total requested on the application. You're entering it in two spots, actually three spots. There is the printed hard copy. There is the application information that you have transferred to the hard copy into the grant management system. And then there is one page that is essentially the summary for it all. Total amount is going to go into this page. I'm still going to leave. I'm not saving anything. So from there, we go to our Rmrp supporting documents. This is the page you also need to pay attention to. You will need to upload documents. If you can upload it as one PDF, probably simplest. If you need to do additional uploads, you can do additional uploads. You're going to upload the tenant application. That is the hard copy application that you've been working from. You're going to upload a copy of the lease, the tenant ledger showing any associated fees, and the household income documentation. All of this is information that was either in the application or is information that you have that you'll need to print from your own property management systems and then upload into the grant management system. Again, if you need to use multiple uploads, you have 9 total uploads you can use. Click on it, choose file, enter the description. if you're uploading multiple files, please make sure you provide a description of, it's the lease, it's the Rmrp application. Please put some clarification as to what you're uploading. It would be helpful. So if we have done the tenant application, we'll get a checkbox. If we've done rental assistance page, we'll get a checkbox. Then supporting documentations, get a checkbox. Only one thing left, which is the Rmrp certifications. Again, this is going to match things that are already in the hard copy application. So you'll transfer the information here. Zero income certification. Jessica, you were explaining this to me. I'll let you provide the clarification for everyone because it could be a little confusing.
So the zero income certification for purposes of Rmrp is a household certification. So for this, you would only mark yes if the entire household is reporting zero income. Otherwise, if one of the household members has income, you will mark this NA.
We have the tenant agreement. Did they initial it and sign it? Yes. Tenant certification, that is, have they met the certification? Again, all of this is in the hard copy. The landlord part of the agreement, you will check. And then the certification of the authorized agent. This is the name of the person who is submitting the form, very simply. So put that in there. And again, click Save to save it. Once you've done that, you should see that in your case, each one of these would be checked and it would show the last edit date. I think everything's done, is it not, Jessica? Is there anything we missed?
Right. At that point, once you have all of your check marks and you are ready to submit, you would hit the submit button.
Right here. And we will submit it. And that goes in. And now, if we want to check where things stand, we can see here, we can actually see a list of the applications. These are, in this case, pending because they have not been approved.
Over on the left, you have the status. So these two say editing because they have not yet been submitted. Once they're submitted, they'll show here and it'll say under review. Once it's approved and paid, that's when it moves to my grants.
Right down here, my grants, which right now I have no grants.
You need to go in and edit an application. You would do that from the My Applications.
Which is right here. So
hopefully you need to go in and finish Teresa's application. You would select, Teresa Starkey.
Then we're back at the page.
You're back at the page. You can go into whatever form you need to edit, and then you would hit the edit button. And that would open that up into a page that you can change the figures.
Right, here's the edit button. And you go right back in. So I think the systems should be fairly straightforward to use. I certainly hope this little tutorial has helped people understand the system and get a little kind of sample of how things work. Thank you to everyone who has watched. We certainly hope this will help keep Virginians housed, really keep people sheltered who are suffering hard times right now.